This is a video capture of the question extension 2 of the final exam. And let's go ahead and take a look at the question itself. Make use of this particular document which we used in one of our assignments and fill in the blanks of this program. Point distribution of the blanks is not uniform, more challenging ones are worth more points, and so on and so forth. And so it may be helpful to bring that page up just so that we can review the extension to standard. We have a structure here, fs info, that stores various information into the structure so that we can retrieve and use that instead of having to pass many parameters or use global variables. We can just pass the address of one construct or one structure around to simplify matters. The first blank that we encounter is in seek and read. The documentation of the function is to seek to file position offset from the beginning of the file descriptor of the fsinfo pointed to by pinfo, then read n bytes to memory location dest. In other words, we are seeking, we're using seek. So if the first thing we need to do is to find out, okay, which function should we use. The function that we need to use is lseek. And this is something that we have used already. Let me magnify this a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this is something that we have used already, lseek. It requires 3 parameters. The first parameter is the file descriptor, the second one is the offset, and the last one is whence, which is either set, cur, or end, and we have to use set because we are reading from the beginning of the file. So switching back to the screen here, so we go here and then we change this to a call to lseek, and the file descriptor is already provided in the structure itself, so it's pinfo points to fd, which is the only file descriptor available at this point. And then the next thing we have to specify is the offset. You can see the type of offset of the parameter is OFF_T, which matches the second parameter of lseek. So we just pass offset to offset, and the last one is the destination, which is passed as a void pointer, and we just pass that along. So that takes care of the first blank. The second blank happens in read superblock fsinfo. Read the entire superblock into the superblock member of fsinfo pointed to by pinfo. So we want to substitute something here with just a single parameter that we have to pass to seek and read. In this case, according to the documentation of the extension 2, the offset is always at 1024. So 1024 goes into here. The third blank is in block size fsinfo, and we have to find out what is the block size in terms of number of bytes. And in this case, we have to use a left shift operation. But before that, it is really helpful if we can just take a look at the documentation. So let me just bring that page up first. And let's see. There we go. And I'll just go ahead and make the web browser fit into the same screen size so it can be captured properly. Oops. Okay, there we go. Copy and paste the URL. Copy and paste. Oh. Let's try it again. Copy and paste. we go. We need to authenticate first. There we go. And let's paste that again. Alright, so here's the documentation, and we need to find the block size. So something they can do is to find block size here, and according to this, it is 1024 and then left shifted by s log block size, and we want to find out where that is. So let's search for that again, which is up here somewhere. The block size is a very important aspect, so you can see that it is stated here at offset 24. So we switch back to the editor here, and we go back to the blank that we have to fill in, which is right here. So it's 1024, and then we have to left shift it by a certain amount. Now if you look at the other functions, it gives you a certain idea of how we can address a particular offset and then typecast it to a 32-bit quantity, particularly the one about blocks count fs info. That basically shows you that we have to use this particular construct to address certain bytes in superblock and interpret it in a certain way. And let me see if parentheses are all matching up like that. So we take care of this. Okay, let me just explain this one more time. P-info points to superblock, points to an array of unsigned char, so each item is a byte already. In other words, adding 4 really adds 4 to the address that we are dealing with. Once we get to that particular address, we want to do a dereference, but we don't want to dereference into an unsigned char, and that's why we have to cast the pointer to a pointer to int underscore 32 first, or which is a 32-bit integer. And once we cast it to a 32-bit integer or 4-byte integer, then we can actually go ahead and dereference it to become a 32-bit integer. So that takes care of the third item. Okay, right here we have insert call to seek and read to read the inode into the inode member of the fs info pointed to by p-info. In other words, we have to call seek and read here. So we go ahead and type seek and read, and we have to supply p-info itself, which is the entire structure containing all the information that we have to deal with. The second parameter specifies the location. Where am I going to in order to do the read? We'll kind of defer that a little bit later. The last parameter specifies how many bytes we want to read, and that's pretty easy to do because we can look into the function here. The first thing we do is to allocate the bytes for the inode member, which has to know the number of bytes to be allocate, and this call does the job. So we have to pass exactly the same number here. We just paste it here, and that takes care of the last parameter. So the biggest challenge is the second parameter here. Where do